Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and today's show is presented by our good friends, Panda Supps. If you want to get your hands on their Panda pre-workout, use code Raiders. Usually, it's $54.99, but you can get your hands on it if you use code Raiders for only $26. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to talk about two players that the silver and black need to extend right now. Like, you got to do it right now. By the time you see this video, Mark, you better extend these two players right now. And then also a topic that, I'm sorry, it's not being talked about nearly enough. Is Patrick Graham going to end up leaving the Raiders? Not because he wants to, but if I'm an NFL team out there and I'm going to be hiring a new head coach, Patrick Graham deserves to get some run to be the next head coach of some NFL team. That's how good he has done this season for the Raiders. But if you're like me, man, walking into work after Christmas Day, watching the Raiders take down Kansas City, I am as happy and I am as proud of a Raider fan that maybe I have ever been while doing this show. That game against Kansas City, the only other game that I can say was just as big from a proud Raiders moment was when the Raiders beat the Chargers back in Week 18 in 2021, the Derek Carr timeout. If you have that exact same feeling, hit that subscribe button. People who I knew were excited on the morning of Christmas, or I guess not morning of Christmas, the day after Christmas, was the people in my Noti gang. These were the first 5 people to drop a comment, and shit, I got Mount Raidermore and part of the Noti gang. If you want to get a shout out on the show, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications, and try to be one of the first 5 people that comment on a Raiders video. Shout out to Mario, my guy Zon, Urza, Leonel, and Sucka Free Raider. I salute you. All right, let's get into some rumors here after the Chiefs game, and the very first one is the Las Vegas Raiders need to extend Malcolm Koonce. Guess what? Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 just win babies. I made a segment last week about extension candidates, and I sit on this one yet again. The Raiders need to extend Malcolm Koonce. This guy has been an absolute monster for the Silver and Black. In fact, there was no player in the NFL that has more sacks than Koonce since Week 14. So in the last 3 games, Malcolm's 5 sacks leads the NFL. He's going to be a free agent in 2025. So some of you are like, well, Mitch, he's going to be on our team next season. Yeah, I get that. But you know what? Sometimes good NFL teams, smart NFL teams, extend a player that they know is going to have value before their contract runs out. If the Raiders do it now, they will save themselves money as time goes on. He's having a career season. He looks like he's really fully understanding the Patrick Graham system, and this is the first time in his NFL career that he's had multiple seasons in the exact same defense. My guy Graff was begging the Raiders to put him in the game. Well, guess what? He's getting in the game now. And he had himself a hell of a football game, and maybe one of my favorite pictures from the Raiders win over the Chiefs on Christmas, which you can kind of see in the background here. But 6 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. The other thing that, it's not really documented as much because, yes, his main job is to be able to get after the quarterback. Malcolm's also got light years better at being able to stop the run, setting the edge. He's done a much, much better job. And I almost look at this game as a little bit of a revenge game because if you guys remember last season, Malcolm got called for that phantom holding penalty on that Raider or on the Chiefs field goal. Do you remember that? Where they missed it, they get called for holding, and then ball goes back to Kansas City, and the Raiders end up losing the game. It was like 30-29. It was a hell of a bounce-back game for Malcolm after the last time he played in Arrowhead. To me, he is everything that you want in a building the right fundamental pieces for a Raiders team. So right now, I'm telling you, you extend Malcolm Koonce, you give him a brand new deal, 7 sacks, give him 2 years. In fact, the deal that I would stick with here with Malcolm would be a 2-year extension at $15 million with $12 million guaranteed. So to me, I look at those numbers. I think he's earned it. He might even get more if he were to hit the open market. So lock him in now at a little bit more of a reasonable price. If you're like Mitch, I couldn't agree with you more. Hit that like button. If you want Malcolm Koonce to get a contract extension, hit that like button right now. I know that some people might think it's outlandish to think that Mark Davis, people from the Raiders, watch this show. We get more views on this YouTube channel than the actual Raiders YouTube channel does. Why? Our show is built on the backs of the nation. So I want your voices to be heard. So if you want your voice to be heard, click that like button. Let's get Malcolm Koonce extended. Let's go to the next topic here on the Raiders Report. and it's around the extension of Jack Jones. This might surprise you, but I'll tell you whether or not I want the Raiders to extend Jack Jones. Before I give you my answer, I got to tell you about our sponsor, Panda Sups, and they, man, are really, really hooking up the nation. This is a very limited run, so make sure you get your orders in ASAP. This is Panda Sups' first pre-workout retailing for $34.99. But if you use code Raiders, you can actually get it for $26. And personally, the reason why they're doing this unbelievable deal is it's obviously still during the holidays. It's Panda pre-workout, but they want to say thank you to the nation out there, and it's only the pre-workout. Shout out to the nation for helping Panda Sups grow. They call themselves Panda Nation because the guy who owns it is a diehard Raider fan. But I always want people to try their products. And if you're like me, sometimes getting up in the morning for a workout, it's not easy. But you know what? I got those 2024 goals just like anybody else. And I want y'all to get on the right track. And you take a scoop of this stuff, I'm telling you, you're going to be waking up. You're going to be locked into the gym. You're going to get a better overall workout. You're going to feel better about yourself overall. I know some of y'all are watching me right now saying, bro, you look like a raspberry. Well, in fact, I look like a Ron Raspberry. Shout out to him for this awesome jersey. All right, let's go to the next story here. And again, if anybody wants any of that stuff from Panda, link down in the comments, down in the description. The Raiders need to extend Jack Jones. I know what I said here with Malcolm, and my answer is the exact same thing here. However, there is a little bit of a caveat to this. I am so confident that the Raiders are going to make Antonio Pierce the head coach next season that I am willing to extend Jack Jones. Only if the Raiders are going to keep Antonio Pierce as the head coach, because every single other place that Jones has gone to that was not part of the Las Vegas Raiders, or was not part of Antonio Pierce, then he's struggled, right? He was a former second-round pick. He's had some troubles, but he's known AP since he's been 13 years old. And I kind of laugh because when the Raiders signed Marcus Peters, to me, the role that Jack Jones is playing and the player that he has been for the Silver and Black is what a lot of Raider fans, and myself included, thought I was going to get when the Raiders signed Peters, right? I mean, this is another thing that's not being talked about nearly enough. Jack Jones stepping up to the plate and filling in for Peters. Like, one of the reasons why Antonio Pierce deserves to be another reason why, right, there's many, deserves to be the head coach is because I trust AP. And the reason why that you bring in a guy like Jack Jones because you believe in AP, you believe in Patrick Graham. And Jones is playing some unbelievable football this season. I mean, against the Kansas City Chiefs this past week, 5 tackles, 1 pass breakup, an interception, and an interception that went for 6. I mean, the throw and the route, the read, everything he did, he baited Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know if I've ever seen anybody bait Mahomes the way that Jack Jones did yesterday, especially after a major turnover by Kansas City. This season for the Silver and Black, he's got 32 tackles. I shouldn't say this season for the Silver and Black. Overall, 32 tackles, 2 INTs, 4 PBUs. And, you know, my guy Tristan on Twitter, shout out to the OG Raider Scout, this is since joining the Raiders in Week 11. 239 snaps, 20 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 INTs, 4 PBs, 2 touchdowns, 18 targets, 11 receptions allowed, 78 yards allowed, a quarterback rating allowed of 31.5, maybe the best insult that I've ever seen anybody give, where he called somebody a lollipop. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on my Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. But if you haven't seen the video of apparently Jack Jones pulling a football away from a Chiefs fan, a kid, he actually explained it on Twitter a little bit more in depth, that he was trying to hand it to the kid, but you can actually see there's a grown man that comes in the background and tries to steal it from him. That's why he pulled the football away from a kid. So not only is he putting up these type of stats, he's got a swagger right now. He was talking about, you know, last week, if you stop Mahomes the magician, you put an end to the show. One of the things I think about being a Raider is if you're going to walk the walk, or if you're going to talk the talk, you better, what is it? If you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. I butchered that, man. I feel like a lollipop right now. But, like, that's what Jack Jones is able to do. So the extension offer that I would give him is a 2-year, $8 million deal with $6 million guaranteed. And you're going to see, again, I'm tying in a lot of these 2-year type of contract extensions. And with Jones, it would essentially just be a 2-year brand new deal. Is probably the better way that I should put that. But, like, I want to tie guys in for 2 to 3 years, because that's how long Max Crosby's locked in, and that's overall what I think that the Raiders should do with these two players here. So here's my question, okay? Let's say you can only give that type of deal to Malcolm Koonce or Jack Jones. And I don't really want you to focus on the overall contract value. It's more based on you can only extend one. Who's the bigger priority for the Raiders right now? Is it Malcolm Koonce? Type 51. Is it Jack Jones? I want you to type 18. Now, I'll give you my answer. And I know there's a lot of people right now watching us live right now, and I see my guy Venom. What's up? If you're not watching this live, make sure you tune in. We'll talk about this a little bit more, and you should always tune into our live Tuesday shows, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. But to me, the player, if you're going to extend one, if it's between Malcolm Koonce and Jack Jones, I love me some Jack Jones. That was the man, that was the Grinch that stole Christmas. But Malcolm Koonce, to me, has to be the bigger priority based off the position. Like, the reason why, and I'm not trying to take anything away here from Jack Jones. I'm not trying to take away anything from Marcus Epps, Trevon Merrick, Amik Robertson. These guys have been playing solid football this season. But go figure, when the Raiders are finally able to get pressure on a quarterback with Max Crosby, with Tyree Wilson playing on the interior. Dude, Adam Butler was an absolute dog yesterday. Bilal Nichols has finally stepped it up at DT. But the unsung hero of this Raiders defensive line, it's Malcolm Koonce. Like, that's why this Raiders defense is playing well. They're able to bring 3 or 4, and they're getting pressure. I love me some Jack Jones. But based on position, I think Malcolm Koonce is a higher priority than number 18. We'll get into the final story here on the show, which is around Patrick Graham and whether or not he's going to be staying with the Raiders next season. Before I get into that, though, our programming schedule, Chugs and I, we're going to be live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday to cover a little Thursday night football, so be in tune for that. And then we're going to be live on Sunday at noon Eastern Time as well. We're going to start an hour before. We're going to get the Oakland tailgate started. So please tune in to both of these shows here on the Raiders Report. If you're not subscribed, make sure you are. Let's go to the final story here on the Raiders Report. Patrick Graham leaving the Las Vegas Raiders. If you think that this is a 0% chance, then you're not watching what Patrick Graham is doing for the Silver and Black. This one's got to be one just win, baby, and I just don't want to say that it's impossible that Graham leaves, and nobody wants Patrick Graham to leave. I mean, this is the best Raiders defense. And how long? Honest to God question. I mean, this is the best defense in the NFL right now, if it's up to me. If you ask me what defense do I have the most confidence in the NFL, I think it'd be hard to go away from the Raiders. Yeah, you might be able to throw out the 49ers, maybe the Baltimore Ravens, but you're talking about 2 of the best teams in the National Football League right now. And Graham deserves to win Coordinator of the Year. If he wins Coordinator of the Year, he's going to get interviews for other head coaching openings. I'm not saying that he's going to get the job. And, also, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I don't like the Rooney Rule. Like, I understand the Rooney Rule, but I don't want somebody to just give Patrick Graham an interview just because he's a black head coach. Like, no, you should give Patrick Graham an interview because he's a damn good head coach. So, on top of that, I know there's going to be an NFL team, though, that looks at Patrick Graham and they go, we can interview him and we can use him as the Rooney Rule. And because of that, he's going to get an opportunity to potentially be a head coach in the National Football League. So, because of that, like, I would be unbelievably happy for Patrick Graham, his family, and all that if he were to get a head coaching gig, because the way he's done it this year, he should get some interviews. He absolutely should get some interviews. But let's not get it twisted, man. I do not want Patrick Graham to go anywhere because with him at the helm, this defense is elite. And when the Raiders hired Graham, I told y'all, like, I love what this guy's going to be able to bring to the table. I tried to really pump the brakes last season because when the season ended last year, there was a whole bunch of Raider fans that wanted to move on from Patrick Graham, and I stood up here on the show multiple times, and I said, this guy is a hell of a coach. And you're finally seeing him now in year 2 with a defense that he kind of has some control over. But with Antonio Pierce, the head coach, and Patrick Graham's defense, right now this team is allowing 14.9 points per game. If you had yourself a franchise quarterback, man, oh man, I would love to see what this team's able to do. So, here, one more time, quick little wrap-up here. Malcolm Koonce, Jack Jones, both deserve a contract extension. However, the bigger priority to me would be Malcolm. And then Patrick Graham leaving the Raiders. It's not impossible, but it's only because of how great of a job he's done. He's going to get interviewed for a head coaching gig. I just hope that he ends up coming back to the Silver and Black.